Our experience, our experience ranges from end-to-end management of L&D function to supporting organization development initiatives. She is an NLP, ICFA, AACC certified coach working towards PCC certification. And she's has a breadth of experience across various industries such as IT, BPO, and banking. She has led several initiatives around social learning, innovation, and content curation. Also, she enjoys solving real-time organization issues through customer-centric mindset in a fast-paced landscape with ambiguous outcomes. So, without keeping you keep you all waiting anymore, I would like to welcome our speaker, Shanti Sharma. Shanti, over to you.
Thank you so much, Naveen. Pleasure to be back with SkillUpRight. I've always enjoyed these sessions with all the engagement interaction that I come face to face with such a variety of audience that we have here. Very good afternoon. Let me start sharing my screen and we'll go forward from there. Okay. Can somebody confirm they are able to see my screen? Yeah, the hand raise I'm hoping means that you're able to see my screen. So with that, Naveen has already introduced me, so I won't spend much time. A few things that Naveen did not share is that I'm a Tamilian, born in Nagpur, brought up in Delhi, married into a Rajasthani Sharma, now settled in Bangalore for the past 14 years. Bangalore weather has been changing, and so has my, throat and nose, which is not ready yet to accommodate all the weather changes in Bangalore. So you may find me a bit irritable and, wanting to clear my throat in between. So apologies for that in the beginning itself. I am a learning professional. I am a certified learning and development manager. I have just applied for my PCC. I'm already an ACC certified coach. I've done my NLP. I'm a student of transactional analysis. And Naveen was checking with me. Last time we spoke, you were still in the process. Are you done? I said, no, Naveen, it's a 7-year journey. So it's going to take a long while before I can say I'm a transactional analyst. On a personal front, I have done certain activities that connect with my passion of growing people. One is the 100-kilometer Oxfam walk. I've done it twice, and I've also taught at the Cheshire Home for Disabled People. So that's where how I try to connect and help people learn and grow. With that, jumping right into the session, and I would love to hear from you in the text chat. The next slide is going to be showing several terms that are in the news, on social media, being thrown out into the open field by large corporates. How many of you, there are 14 words on the screen, if you can just put in the text chat, how many actually you know? You can see the presenter mode, okay? Let me see how I can change that. I'm hoping that solved the problem, hoping you're able to see the whole screen now. If you can tell me from what you are able to see on the screen, how many of these terms do you actually know of? Thank you, Kirsten, too. Yeah, Sunita has 3 words that she's aware of. Sure, thank you. Lovely, lovely. Jayashri says she knows 6 terms. Kudos to you, Jayashri. Some of them are as new as, born a couple of weeks ago. So if you know them, that's great. So let me try and give you a quick snapshot of what it means. Great Resignation and the Great Reshuffle, they mean the same thing. It's a phenomenon that was that came into notice during the COVID times, where people, because of work from home, because of the ability to get time to think and introspect, want to do something more meaningful, they realize the fact that, how they can live and sustain themselves very minimalistically. And hence they decided to quit their well-paying corporate jobs and do something that is really close to their heart. And hence a lot of churn in the corporate was seen in terms of audience moving jobs, and audience quitting lots of jobs. Then is quiet quitting and quiet firing very related, but still significantly different. Quiet firing, I think, has been a term that has been in place since ages. We've always heard people say we don't quit organizations, but we quit managers. And quiet firing is where managers create an atmosphere that the employee is no longer able to sustain, and hence they withdraw themselves from working and they say, I can't continue, and then they quit. Whereas quiet quitting is a very typical phenomena where people are lying somewhere between being highly engaged and not engaged at all. And when they are in that middle range where they are neither too engaged nor disengaged, they fail to give their 100% to the organization. They fail to go above and beyond what they would want to. And they typically they just come in to work to do that check mark every day, that today I came into work and I've done my work and I'm going back home. That is what quiet quitting is. Presenteeism is when people do stuff to get noticed. Yeah, it may not be real work, but they're doing stuff, making their presence visible. That's a phenomena wherein there are large organizations, so many people, thousands of people working under the same brand name. It becomes important for the employees to be noticed, and sometimes they take to doing things that are really not aligned to the organizational goals. Yeah. Then let's talk about butterfly effect. And we've heard that, a small change at a certain point in time can substantially affect a larger event at a later stage in the future. Let me give you an example. When an employee in a very junior position in the company is offered to move to another company with a huge salary, maybe 5 times an increment, and the original company wants to retain that person, they have no choice but to give him a promotion, maybe offer that kind of a salary, without realizing the fact that, very soon the person will outgrow that promotion, will outgrow that incremented salary, and will ask for more. And that becomes, it has a huge impact in terms of the original company that had offered him the initial position going bust. Then we see a Hawthorne effect, where subjects will improve or modify their behavior in response to the knowledge that is being measured. For example, when we tell an employee that, you're in this call with your stakeholders, you're going to be recorded, and we are going to see your communication skills. And we hear that whenever we get into a person on a call center, that this call will be recorded for quality purposes, you will immediately see that they're going to change their behavior to meet what is expected of them. Yeah, so it is that sudden change in behavior just because they know that somebody is observing them. Would they have done the call the same way if there was no recording? We don't know that yet. Pygmalion effect is another one where, where you entrust responsibility on people and tell them that you really trust them and that they can deliver. Without realization, people will start achieving better, improved targets and, outperforming themselves without their own realization, because they are trying to maintain the trust that has been entrusted upon them. Many of you said that you know what domino effect is, and I'm sure all of you would have guessed it right. It is a small change in the here and now that can, multiply manifold in the future. For example, when we see one employee who leaves at 4:30 in the afternoon, they pack up their bags and they leave. And then the other employees are watching this employee and they say, why is he or she privileged? I will also leave early today. Slowly, you will see that the entire floor or the bay or the team starts to leave earlier. So just that one person starting a change of behavior has ripple effects, and the entire team or organization follows suit. John Henry effect is, when there is a control group and there is an experimental group. The control group, though they are not under any, specific criteria, they're not working, they're just being observed, so that we want to observe a control, a normal group, and an experimental group that is working under some changed conditions. The control group is tempted to work harder to overcome the perceived disadvantage. They think, oh my God, those people are given additional training and they're being observed. Those people are given additional support and being observed. I don't want to become redundant, and the control group actually tries to overcome that by working harder, longer, um, and which may not actually give us the right results. Peter's principle is a very common occurrence in companies where employees are promoted as per their current progress rather than their aptitude. We haven't seen that really help us a lot. Nomad worker is the kind of worker we see today, who work from their homes, who do their day job, but they're also doing, gig assignments here and there, very similar to moonlighting, where people are doing multiple jobs possibly at the same time. And moonlighting has been really in the news for quite a while, where Indian corporates have actually laid off people where they felt moonlighting has not been ethical. Is there any term we've not got? Quick quitting. Is this the phenomena where we see employees join an organization and leave within the first 6 months to a year to join a bigger, better organization to get more money, to get a better designation, to join a bigger brand, etc.? Why I wanted to call out all of these terms before we actually get into the crux of the session is because that there is so much happening in today's time, and most of these phenomena have, not that they did not exist pre-COVID era, they existed, but were not as predominant, were not as observant, was not, so there was, the terms are being coined now because these phenomena are being observed so much in the workforce. And hence, it is also shaping, reshaping, washing, structuring the way HR teams have to manage talent. Yeah, any questions on anything that you see on the slide before I move to the next one? Yeah, if not, let us move to the next slide. Let's look at what does, with all of these phenomena in place, what does the talent landscape look like in today's world? Yeah, the first one is the simplicity of the products and services that is being made available by the corporates, and pay-as-you-go kind of models that have really pressured corporates to think differently, to evolve in a very different way. The simplicity of integrating and the options to pay as you go, just two factors that have encouraged and accelerated the development of the tech products and services. And we also have heard the term software as a service these days, whereas earlier software meant a product, but now it is also a service. With cloud coming into the picture, it is more important that software as a service is offered very, very cleverly. Yes, there are concerns with regards to data security, privacy, and limitations to customizing the software. The underlying benefits of scaling and the cost to service ratio have led to large-scale adoption of these new age technologies. What this then does is that the software product marketplace, which had the two kinds of organizations which provide the software, the product on Prime or off Prime, had to quickly evolve. Those doing on Prime were actually safe, and they just had to adopt the terminology of software as a service, whereas the other corporates that were providing software off Prime really had to think differently, and they're continuing to think differently and evolve. And it's a different kind of environment that is being created. So yes, there are companies like Salesforce, and which are like new age companies, started as software as a service and working well. The Amazons and Googles of the world are also evolving. They're also offering software as a service. And to add to this, the industry newbies, Razorpay, Stripe, are really companies that are taking software as a service to the next level. With all of this happening, there is an emerging talent war. Now, where does this war stem from? Uh, Primarily, with all of these newer technologies and capabilities required, we do need talent. The number of people who have this talent is limited. And hence, whether it is huge players or the small players or the medium players or the players who are transitioning into this new kind of working with technology, they are all fighting for the same set of talent. We know HR definitely is aware that there is talent scarcity. We have lesser talent than we actually require. And hence, the price of this talent goes on increasing. Yeah, anything which is in demand, the price increases. Yeah, I remember days when bottle guard used to be so, was the one among the cheapest vegetables. But the moment all the the gurus started calling that the bottle guard is so good for your health, suddenly you will see the price increase. Anything that goes in demand, the price increases. Very similarly, when talent is in demand, there is a war amongst all these organizations to get this talent. Um, uh, then, of course, the technical and the executive positions at these technology companies have never been in higher demand, also because they have to embrace automation that quickly. Automation could mean AI, ML, data science, data intelligence, so on and so forth. It's a very, very long list. For software product companies, people capabilities, they're accelerating this need because they really have to fulfill the need of their customer. Today's software leader need to work with innovation while they are able to make real-time decisions, determining which product to use, continue developing, working on which product to remove from their pipeline because it's not serving their customer or the customer has lots of feedback. So that real-time decision making is required, but there's no way for leaders to do that without the knowledge of data, without being able to innovate how they are developing and being agile. And hence, it is imperative that HR develops a talent management strategy, not only talent management, but also a talent engagement strategy to be able to retain this particular audience. Then, of course, it is important to captivate this audience. The industry is booming so much. Everybody has so many options to choose from. When candidates walk into organizing, they probably have a couple of offers in their back pocket. And they are having upper hand where they will negotiate based on other offers they have. And it seems the candidate is the king. They are deciding, they are driving where the industry will go going forward. So the only way you can hire and attract and retain talent is by, captivating, by pulling in this audience, by showcasing what is it that your organization, your teams, your people have to offer, so that the very, very rapidly. How does that work? Last but not the least is, of course, quiet quitting is impacting the bottom line. Easing the tide of quiet quitting is an important goal, but what happens when you actively engage your employees is that everyone benefits. For example, developing effective managerial behaviors leads to better performance and hence impacts the bottom lines. Training your managers for more effectively engaging with their employees creates a happy environment. As a result, there is lots of engagement that happens. I see some participants have raised hands. Do participants unmute and ask their question, Naveen, or do they post it in the text chat? How do we want to take the questions? Naveen, are you there?
Sorry, Shanti, I was on mute. Yeah, I think, I mean, the two options, one is the text, and what is the other option you said?
They can unmute and speak if it's
Uh,
possible.
okay, unmute and speak. Okay, I think maybe we can, I mean, what do you prefer, Shanti? We'll go accordingly.
Mm, either ways is okay, but if there are too many questions on a topic, I may just have to hold and proceed so that we are not missing out anything on the session. I can stay on a little longer to answer if there are any questions, but if they can populate in the text chat, I can keep looking at it and ask and answer those questions too.
I think let's go with the chat itself.
Let's go with the chat. Yeah, people who've raised your hand: Ranjita, Navya, Manasa, Bidan, Shailendra, and Jayashri. If you can put your questions in the text chat, I will answer these questions as we go along. Yeah. Coming back to our slides, it is important that things like quiet quitting are addressed by HR and HR related teams. The businesses equally have to partner with HR in order to be able to manage quiet quitting, because quiet quitting does impact the bottom line. Now that we understand that it is such a volatile, such a it is, what do you say, chaotic situation in terms of the talent market, what kind of challenges do HR face? Yeah, the first challenge that HR faces is the big talent squeeze at the executive suite at the top. This is pretty critical if people their organization. There is clearly a three-way leadership war, leadership talent war, one where the traditional enterprise software companies are competing for top executives with, what do I call them, the new age or born in the cloud companies like Salesforce, Workday, etc., which are also companies which are, they're also targeting the large players such as Amazon, Facebook, Google. So it's the same set of talent that has to cater to everywhere. And we know the pyramid at the top is much narrower. Obviously, the talent at the top are much fewer than the talent at the bottom. And hence there is this, always this big question of the right talent, the right hire with the right attitude, who can sustain the organization with the right kind of growth. All of those questions are there top of the mind for our HR. It's not an exaggeration to say that the technical and executive roles at tech companies are more in demand now than it has ever been in the human history, even more than what it was during the dot-com bubble. This will only increase because the rate of innovation is on its J curve, almost peaking. And every day we are able to see innovation in terms of digitalization, automation, AI, machine learning, and all happening. And obviously, we will need that many more leaders at the top. Second one, I think I've alluded to this, is the evolving capability skill set. For software product companies, people capabilities are evolving as rapidly as their business and operating models. They have to further embrace the new age technology, have, all these terms are also being coined, digital mindset and various kinds of mindset that these leaders need to be, not only leaders, but everyone in the chain needs to be embracing. More than ever before, today's software leaders need to be operating with the mantra of continuous innovation. So it is not that they've done an innovation and they can be happy about it, but it's about how can they, even before the first innovation is settled and out, they're already thinking about what next, how can they make their product or software better. They also have to, real-time decision making is so important. They don't have as much time as they had earlier to, take an entire week, analyze the data very properly, and then come up with a decision. Sometimes even a few hours of delay can throw the, the share markets off the chart, and things can go absolutely haywire. What else? It is important for them to be mindful of, What products do I continue to develop and deliver? What products do I stop, start, continue? So they constantly have to be having that mindset of making things better for their organization. All of this also entails the added complexity of finance and legal roles, due to the revenue recognition and matching of costs, etc. The parent companies in the US, but the services are being offered across the globe. Then how does tax policies work? So the supporting roles, HR, legal, marketing, all of these also have to evolve in order to cater to the changing needs of the organization. Last but not the least, the business development functions in such tech companies also have to evolve, and probably they have to evolve dramatically, if I'm not exaggerating. The focus is now on something that's called as the annual recurring revenue. How can we continuously keep on delivering as much, at least, as we did last year, if not less? The churn, the account development, and acquiring customer acquisition cost. Now, all of this has to be maintained by business development. While all of this requires considerable end user investment in terms of shares, it can also be mitigated by the kind of contract employees that you bring in. So contract employees is that huge pool that can be a game changer in the long run. We don't know yet. There is lots that needs to be understood about this contractor pool of skill. They are not gig workers. They don't work for multiple organizations at the same time. They are dedicated to working for an organization for a certain duration, and that's the only thing they do. Who knows, when contract services are also offered in a gig format, where one contractor who has a particular skill required by multiple companies does that job for multiple companies. So things are starting to look different in the contractor world also. The customer success function has to evolve rapidly, because they now need to use all these data provided by the business development teams and look at the success of their customer, not just the success of the organization. So in some companies, the sales team actually has the function to manage customer success. It's not, their role doesn't end as soon as they sell the product or service to the customer, but also to see through that the customer is successful. And when the customer is successful, leads to a happy customer. And when one customer is happy, they spread that word and try and get in more customers for you. So the talent war is not just with the tech teams, but also all the associated teams within the technology frame. Moving on to the next challenge are the sources of executive talent. Where are we finding this executive talent pool? Where are these people actually located? Yes, the cohesive talent sourcing teams and the very sophisticated engagement strategies are essential to attract the right talent. When I say right talent, typically means leadership, CXOs, and one level down from the CXOs. There are just four sources from where you can get all of this audience. One is the new play startups or software as a service companies that are very new, that really hire this talent. They are giving them lots of exposure. And as a result, you have the qualities that you would really need these leaders to bring into large organizations. The challenge with such leaders is that they don't have the maturity of managing teams and people. Though technically they are super strong, they still haven't worked with they still haven't attained that maturity of working with people. Technologically, they are super strong. The next pool is the tech-enabled businesses, the leadership pool across, tech, fintech, health tech, ed tech, B2B tech, any kind of tech you call, is a large talent pool. It is a rich source of executive talent, industry agnostic executive talent. It does not matter from which industry you are picking up these leaders from, as long as they're part of the tech, they bring in lots of agility, customer centricity. They are very data driven. So you find that kind of talent in these firms. The software firms that target this sector are tend to align their strategy in terms of large scale size of the organization. You can get large volumes from this particular group of audience. The third bucket where you can find such talent is organizations that are transitioning from the traditional software as a product to a software as a service kind of in transition. Because when the transition is going on, it builds resilience in these leaders. They're able to adapt and engage with change. They learn how to manage people. So that is also potentially very active group that you can hire from. And of course, our evergreen consulting firms, though not considered as an obvious choice, we have found that professional services organizations that have worked very closely with an extensive list of technology clients can sometimes add real value by the kind of talent they are able to offer. This is particularly the case in terms of account management, strategy, planning, go-to-market, those kinds of skills. The traditional consulting headhunter kind of organizations are able to provide. Sorry, give me 1 second, please. Lovely. Then comes the compelling proposition is absolutely essential. The booming industry conditions have made it so critical to woo employees, executives into the new platform simply because they are enjoying the success in whatever company they are. When leaders start to enjoy what they're doing, very difficult to buy them and, coax them into coming into another organization. In order to spark interest and consideration, the opportunities that we present from our organization have to be extraordinarily compelling, presented in a way that it's captivating, persuasive, thoughtful, personal. And making it personal probably is the hardest thing to get right, but when done well, can have the biggest impact on your organization. The recruitment challenge is especially true for companies that are in this turnaround phase rather than pure growth companies. For example, um, uh, trying to get a CEO or a GM for their very senior the CEO -1, GM -1 kind of level that they've already hired. So the CEO has to be even more talented, even more agile, even more innovative than the leadership that they already have in their organization. That is a typical challenge that the recruiting teams face. The process of recruiting the executives can also be very long and complex as both parties are evaluating a good fit. A couple of decades ago, it was only the organization that evaluated a good fit. But now the leaders are also evaluating, can the organization give me the kind of opportunities I'm looking for, give me the kind of work culture I'm looking for, give me the kind of growth and visibility I'm looking for. And we've seen lots of instances where the senior leaders have declined an offer despite more money, better designation, because they did not find the other pieces fitting into their puzzle. They have just declined those offers and continued working in the current organization that they were. There is also commonly a specific window or company phase during which, these employees tend to move or tend to stay, especially when there is a transition. If you survive the transition, then the core team that survived the transition always has an upper hand. So it's very difficult to poach leaders from such transitioning organizations. People, excuse me, I have to pop in a Los Angeles. My throat is irritable. Give me 1 second. I'll be just back. Apologies for the interruption. Yeah. Then last but not the least, half of the workforce is quiet quitting. Disengaged employees, I think, are better because they will leave. Most of them have one foot out of the door. The moment they find a better opportunity, they will just quit. But the phenomenon of quiet quitting that has recently taken the world workforce by storm is where the employees are somewhere in between that highly engaged and highly disengaged phase. Very difficult for managers to spot that somebody is quite quitting, they just resolve to doing nothing above and beyond. They resolve to do nothing big, but they're present. They come to work every day. They will do the bare minimum required for them to stay on. They are not looking to quit. Um, I would call them as baggage. I would call them as weight on the organization, because very possible another employee who's really invested in the organization and team's growth can actually give you better results. Quiet quitting, the employees who are quiet quitting um, won't move out, won't create place for better employees to join, neither are they able to provide results. Yeah. So it is important that um, organizations keep employees engaged, happy at work, willing to give them, the kind of work that they do. Quiet quitters typically live in that hazy no man's land between highly engaged and highly disengaged, and hence are not visible in any kind of system. You will only notice the extremes where people are very highly engaged or highly disengaged. Those are people who will perform brilliantly or will not perform at all. So those are very easy to identify and work with. Whereas the middle tier, which is neither here, and unfortunately, that forms the largest bulk of our workforce. Yeah, imagine the kind of disruption it can bring about if not addressed. They continue to work. You have to give them their paychecks. You can't ask them to leave because they are performing. They're not poor performers, but they aren't doing exceptional work either. Some remote work, some of the remote work has also contributed to this quitting, because the people connection, the human connection has ceased to exist. People are not able to feel engaged and connected and part of an organization because they are working remotely. Can we blame it only on remote working? My feeling is no. There are lots of other factors that contribute to quiet quitting, but chances are remote working has suddenly accelerated the rate of employees quiet quitting. So in summary, the industry is going at a very high pace. The need of kind of leaders, the kind of skills, the competencies, the challenges that HR faces in hiring the right kind of people is all new that we are experiencing now. And of course, we have to do a lot about it in order to fix these challenges. Any questions on the challenges before I proceed further? I'm assuming none, as I don't see any, so I will proceed. So how do we manage talent? And that's the crux of this session today. How do we manage talent in today's day and age? My first recommendation is that HR has to think on multiple levels, in multiple directions and dimensions, and do things very, very differently and uncommonly. Yeah. So let's start by talking about the first thing, which is investing in the employees in very different and uncommon ways, as you have done until now. Let me take some examples. When we train employees, we should stop looking at the ROI and also look at how are we nourishing their minds, their hearts, their bodies. It's important that employees get support in areas like communication, emotional intelligence, leadership, managing stress and burnout prevention, uh, meditation, relaxation, healthy living practices, and the list can go on and on. What this kind of training and support does is that it creates the ability and the tools to prioritize habits. That increases their creativity. When people are creative, they're far more innovative. Innovation results in better results, better problem solving, more efficient ways of delivering your products, while employees are able to maintain work-life balance, healthy team dynamics, high performing employees, etc. It's very important that training, learning for the employees start to wear a different hat, start to look at it with a very different view of not just how can the employee use what they've learned to benefit the organization, but also how can the employee use what they are learning to benefit themselves. If the employee benefits, chances are they're going to be far more loyal to the company. I was reading an article just a couple of days ago where lots of organizations have innovated their vacation policies. And an author, I'm going to read it out here, Sean Anker in 2015 wrote in the HBR stating, a positive engaged brain improves important business metrics. When the brain can think positively, productivity increases by 31%. Sales can increase by 37%, and creativity and revenues can triple. Yeah, obviously, why would we not want to offer vacations in a very, very creative way? Several organizations have revamped their vacation policies to give employees more freedom to choose when and where. And they're also helping employees get into that flexible remote working opportunities where they can spend time with their families. There are organizations that have unlimited vacation policies, but they are tied to strict targets. So if you've met your target, go enjoy, do whatever you want. I heard of a new thing, vacation stipend, while I was doing research for this session, where companies are offering sums of money, huge thousands of dollars of money for the employees to go on vacation. They can't use this in any other way, but just go for vacation and claim this money once they are back. Internal holidays where the company pays for the teams to vacation together and build a very strong bond. Lots of these things can be thought about by the HR teams to see how can I make resting, pulling away from work, relaxing and pausing more relevant for the employee. It is a win-win, both for the employee and the employer, because usually employees are afraid to take time off. They are afraid to strain the relationship between them and their managers, them and the skip level, or what will the organization say and do if I am taking off during a high volume period. But when the organization themselves is forthcoming in offering these holidays, the employees are able to grab it much easily. Yeah. Next one, let me talk about creative active support protocols for employees. And we know during COVID, everybody was on the verge of, not being happy, feeling lonely, feeling disconnected, feeling depressed. And it wasn't comfortable for employees. So what does the organization, what can the organization do to support the audience in order to be able to remain cheerful and happy? Primarily, I mean, no one likes to ask for help. Asking help is tough. Even when your company values collaboration and keeping the people, talking to each other can become difficult because people hesitate to ask for help. What happens is that your employees will hit a wall. They don't know how to resolve something. They may or may not even realize that they can ask for help and, quickly get forward with the problem resolution. When that happens, not only the employee, but the team and the employer also suffer because the work is not getting done. This is why it's important for organizations to build a culture where open collaboration, sharing, support is fostered, and employees don't feel scared of asking help. Employees don't feel scared that asking help is a sign of weakness, a sign of not knowing, but that asking for help is a sign of courage, and that asking for help is a sign that I really care for my company's results, and such behaviors are recognized. Secondly, active support is also needed when leadership is also demonstrated when leadership goes out on the floor to support their teams. We've seen this trend that, senior leaders in the organization just go out on the floors, walk, talk to anybody that, they have an eye contact with, checking with them how they are doing, how they are progressing. Are there any kinds of help that the management teams can offer? And ensuring that whatever gets committed to on the floor gets delivered. This not only gives the leaders great chance to see how their teams are doing, it also ensures that the employees know that they are supported, know the employees start to believe that the employer has their back. Leaders are able to build very strong relationships this way with their teams if the leader just goes around asking everybody on the team, irrespective of the size, how they've been doing, and truly have a conversation, not how are you, I am fine kinds of conversation, but really knowing how the employee is doing. And such active protocols increase productivity, efficiency, team connections, team morale, loyalty. It has an overall impact in sorry, overall impact in how the organization is growing. The third part that the HR teams have to focus on is the inclusion efforts. How can they make work and experiencing the organization more inclusive? Most companies prioritize inclusion because it's the only way to build a long-term loyalty from the employee. If your people feel like they don't belong in the company or their team, then their likelihood to look at other opportunities to move very quickly. Think about it this way. Your employee spends 1/3 of their day at work, and that's a big chunk. Again, there is possibly another third that they spend sleeping. So they just have 1/3 of the day for themselves. So it's a very big, meaningful, chunkier part of the day that they spend at work. It becomes a responsibility of the employer to ensure that the employee enjoys those 8 hours that they are at work. Everyone understands that enjoyment does not mean 100% happiness and fun all the time, but the employees need to feel that they're cared for, they're taken care of, they're supported. Some fun and recreation engagement activities. The key is for your people to feel like they're part of something bigger, a bigger mission and a purpose. When they align what they're doing individually in teams to the bigger team's purpose, bigger organization's purpose, chances are that they feel more included. They feel that they're part of something very big and they're contributing to something. And that sense of contribution really makes lots of difference. So how can you make your employees feel more included? It starts from day one. Day one, when you start to interact with the potential employee, when they're not yet even an employee, when you start to engage and interact with them, how do people who are interviewing the candidate, how do they position their brand to this person? How are you keeping the potential employee up to date in terms of what they can look forward to until they join? Once an offer letter is extended, what are you doing till the time the employee, what are you doing to engage with the employee till the time they are onboarded, till their day one actually happens? Even through the onboarding, how do you help the new hires become a part of your company in a positive way so that their co-workers will accept them, their managers will accept them? They don't feel that everything around them is new. The building, the people, the culture, everything should not feel like new if you have taken care of this entire journey until the onboarding. Yeah. Rewarding inclusive behaviors for both employees and leaders. I think most organizations do this very well, and we need to continue doing this. Being able to create bonding opportunities for the employees. As I said earlier, we mentioned about paid vacations, training, get-togethers, team huddles. Just figure out what is it that the employees can do together so that they feel connected to the rest of the employees. Showing your employees a direct result of their work. What kind of dashboards, data, and reports can actually help the employee track, this is what I did, this is how it impacted my team, what my team did impacted my organization goals? How can they traverse their contribution success to the growth of the organization becomes an important aspect in how employees can feel engaged. um, Another part in being inclusive is, are you hearing every employee's voice? Several organizations do these annual surveys where they ask questions on engagement and training and policies and HR and business and their purpose. They have these long questionnaires that people answer. But how is the organization making it obvious that they've heard the employee? Are they sharing the results of such surveys with the employee? Are they sharing with the employee what they have prioritized for the year to be working on? Are they sharing progress? Um, Post FY22 results, we got 25 pieces of feedback. We are going to take these 5 points as priority items for this year. And again, in the 3 months, 2 completed, 2 work in progress. Are we actually going back to the employee and sharing how the organization is progressing towards what was asked for by the employee? Imagine, um, imagine, if you go and ask for something from a store and the storekeeper does not respond to you, how you will feel? You will not want to go there again to buy anything. No, that's the same situation where the employees ask for certain things through these surveys and the organization fails to communicate back. That feels for the employee as not inclusive. Nobody heard me, and hence chances are for them to be getting disengaged. Last but not the least is to be able to address quiet quitting. A recent Gallup survey shows that 70% of the variance in employee engagement can be tied back to the manager. Yes, the organizational leader, policies, opportunities, money, engagement, all of this does contribute, but only 30% of uh, how much the employees engaged. A lot of employee engagement directly ties to how the manager treats them, deals with them, supports them. The principle, we would have heard that people don't leave managers, people don't leave jobs, but they leave managers, probably stems out of such research. And it applies to quiet quitting too. It's just that in this case, many managers don't even realize that their employees are quiet quitting. And hence they don't take any action actively, which by the time they realize this, it's already too late. The damage has already been caused. Um, the good news is that even most mediocre managers um, aren't fatally flawed. With a little bit of training, with a little bit of support and little bit of guidance, they can turn the situation around where they're able to help the teams and organization feels far more engaged. Yeah, I will halt for a minute to see if there are any questions from the participants. I still see hands raised. I don't see any questions in the text chat, nor in the Q&A box. So I am going to be assuming there are none. One more challenge that the HR faces is not just the employees, but also the new breed of leaders that is required to manage this kind of ever-changing, ever-evolving organization. In the text chat, if you can help me understand, what do you notice about the new age leader? How should they behave? What should they be doing? What should they not be doing? Anything that comes to your mind before I share my thoughts. More emotional, yeah. Outspoken, yeah. Should know the pulse of employees. Thanks, Nitya. someone who supports our vision and encourages our growth. Lovely, Dipti. Able to navigate in ambiguity, probably that's one of the biggest things that we expect managers to do, not only navigate for themselves, but for their teams and their organizations. Anything else? Empathetic. Yeah. Should not look into org level benefits. Should not only, probably that's what you want to say, should not only look at org level benefits, but also look at employee level. Absolutely, Nitya. Growth outside work as well. And Kedar, I'm sure this is not crossing the boundaries of moonlighting, where um, it depends. I won't say moonlighting is ethical or unethical. It just depends. Certain kinds of roles, jobs, it's absolutely fine to moonlight. And moonlighting has always existed. People have done jobs over and above their day jobs um, throughout. I mean, we know of school teachers and college professors who take tuitions after their day job to be able to get more money. There are people who do things like stand-up comedy or cooking beyond their day jobs. Yeah, so that is also moonlighting, but it does not impact the organization or the productivity during their work hours. But there may be instances where, imagine a doctor who remains absent from the hospital because they're trying to run their own clinic. Such moonlighting may not be acceptable in all cases, or may cause certain ethical issues for the company to call out. So again, I'm not saying that work outside is not appropriate, but you just have to be mindful of how to make it appropriate. Yeah, open to change, absolutely supportive and empathetic. Thank you, Ranjita. So in a short span of time, we've come up with 10 to 15 things that leaders need to be able to demonstrate. Yeah. Outside means webinars, seminars. What is? Thank you for clarifying, Kedar. Thank you. And yeah, absolutely. Industry knowledge. We really want our leaders to be totally up to speed with what's happening in their industry. Now let's look at what is changing for these leaders. What is forcing them to evolve and get all of these skills that we've been speaking in a rapidly changing environment with the opportunity, and it is often very imperative to change their product or their service on a daily basis. Companies need leaders who can truly view business through their lens of a customer. How does a customer view my service? Will my customer continue to come back to me, or are they going to change in their next buy? We also need them to be very tech savvy, fluent in their product and the solutions. It is not sufficient for the frontline salesperson or frontline person, customer facing person only to be familiar with the product and service that they're providing, but across the chain, and specifically the leadership, because they are the ones who are going to be representing the brand. It becomes very, very important. Then the ability to cut through the amounts of data that is fed into them. Our brains are only capable to process certain data, but we are expecting superhuman kinds of capabilities from our leaders when it comes to data processing. And of course, it is important that our leaders understand the fundamentals of transition and change and ambiguity, and use them to guide their talent strategy, their teams, so that they have a better chance of surviving in this chaotic world. Yeah. Let's look at what are the things very specific to leadership. First of all, we have to look at people who are obsessed with customer results. They gone are the days when organizations had only to garner, to cater to customer demand and launch a new product every 2 years, and you are happy. While the solutions can be created and updated rapidly, it is also important for you to be able to upskill your employees and the ongoing maintenance and management that quickly. Services can be turned off and turned on as quickly as products are being thrown into the market. As the market becomes more saturated, more competitive, customers have enough choice. Anything you buy, clothing, you buy phones, you buy laptops, you buy stationery, anything, there are enough number of choices, and we are spoiled by choice as a customer. So it is important for the service provider, the leaders in the service providing organization, to understand the pulse of their audience, to understand how do they need to switch gears to meet the ever growing expectations of the customer. Uh, Nobody wants a long-term relationship now. Yeah, monthly contracts, pay per use is the way customers prefer to engage with you. The challenge that these leaders face today is they have to earn every customer every day. They can't relax because they've gotten the customer, or the potential customer converted into a customer. Very possible somebody else showcases better services and proposition. The client is going to move, the customer is going to move to the next service provider. Another predominant trend um, is the establishment of dedicated customer service relationship executives. All of us would have experienced, right? Calls from the bank coming and saying, I'm your relationship manager. If you've got any issues, please reach out to me. That personalization. How much can you personalize? To do that much of personalization, how many people would you have to involve? Does that much of personalization really yield the kind of results that you need? There is so much that goes behind providing these personalized services. While the top technology companies and service oriented and subscription based companies are typically the go-to sources for talent, we have seen that an increased demand in customer centricity, customer focus, hospitality. These are also the kinds of skills that we are looking for in leaders, apart from the technical skills. Even skills like service and operational excellence are things that we are really wanting to see more and more in our leaders. So look for these. And initially, if you remember, I had spoken about the 4 sources. Your leadership team needs to comprise of people from across these sources. Getting leadership from a particular kind of source it'll be, you're creating an army of clones. They will all think and function in the same way, which does not help with the diversity at the leadership level. So it's important that you get your leaders from diverse backgrounds, diverse organizations, diverse skills and capabilities, so that they are able to think and challenge each other's decisions and do what is right for the organization. Next one, it is expected that our leaders are amazing at execution. They're also amazing at iteration. The moment they realize that something has gone wrong, they are able to quickly fix it and bring the product back into the market as quickly as possible. The new age organizations, they offer a challenge of delivering game rising solutions through the adoption of new products, technology, uh, uh, and that too in real time. So on one hand, the product is still not done. Phase 1, phase 2 of the product is already released in the market. You're working on improvising. At the same time, you receive customer feedback, or it could be change in the market conditions or some technology advantage. Immediately, we need the leaders to course correct, rechart the way our product or service is going to be developed, so rapidly adjust the solutions that the customer does not experience that gap. The customer does not see the failure to evolve rapidly. Companies need leaders who are, of course, fluent with product and technology, but also who are able to solve their customer problems and enable their business. Earlier, it was customer resolution teams. Only when the customer shares a problem statement do executives go and resolve it. But now we need leaders who are able to proactively think about what kind of problems can my customer face, and even before the customer calls it out, are you able to resolve it for the customer? Yeah. Dan Vernikoff, the Senior Vice President, General Manager of Institute, had once made a statement, and again, I'm going to read out. Understanding the problem is 25% of getting it right, but the other 75% is how you build the solution in an increasingly competitive and iterative world. So more importance is given to the way you are resolving customer queries, grudges, issues. And of course, we also need developers to think like salespeople. What functionality, feature can I add to my product or service so that it becomes easier for the people to sell uh, uh, in the market? Yeah. Vice versa, the salespeople also need to be the people when they hear something where they're not able to sell a product. They need to understand why were they not able to close the deal. What was their product lacking in so that it can be communicated back to the developers. If your customer hasn't bought your product, they may never give you feedback. Yeah, and if we are losing the customer at a stage even before they are engaging with the product or service, chances are we will never get that feedback. The only way we can get such feedback is through the people who interact with our customers. They are our salespeople, and they and the developers who are developing the product or service have to be really working in hand to hand to make this happen. Yeah, we are also wanting our leaders to have a product mindset. It's not just important to think about what is the need from the customer, what can I give to the customer. Sometimes the customer doesn't even know what they need. You have to keep thinking, innovating, and bringing newer things to the market that the customer, once they experience, you will create a need and want for your product or service. So having that product mindset in these leaders is as important. Data can be a dangerous distraction, especially the amount of focus our leaders give to data and the numbers that come in huge volumes to them every day can be a huge distraction. It obscures what is really important, and that's why we need leaders who have that mental muscle, mental discipline to focus on what is important, recognize patterns, see big picture. Some of you may be resonating with what I'm saying and say, no, that is what data science actually does. Yes, we really need people to be data scientists, irrespective of what role they are in the organizations. We are in a time where data overload can very easily bog down leaders, and they don't know what to do with so much of data. It is important the leader starts to pick up data that is really meaningful. Even after they've picked up pieces of data that are meaningful, they need to know how to streamline or prioritize only to the top 2 or 3 things that are important for them at that point in time, and start working along with their teams to be able to cater to it. If they get too bogged down with all the data or are not able to see patterns, either ways, it's not going to be helpful for them or their teams. Last, and possibly the most important one, is addressing the quiet quitting patterns. Again, according to a recent survey, 10 million workers in 150 countries, there are 12 leadership behaviors that related to employee engagement. So do our leaders need to demonstrate all? Probably very difficult, but it is important they demonstrate a majority of them. The good thing, though, is people can be trained to demonstrate these behaviors. Nobody is born with these behaviors. So there is still a lot of opportunity to skill build leaders specifically to manage quiet quitting. So what are these skills looking like? Future vision. Does your manager is your manager able to articulate the organization vision, mission, values in a simple language so that their teams and team members can understand? Can break it down into smaller, more meaningful chunks that the teams can start to take it back and start to work on it. That is a very key skill for a leader to demonstrate and execute. Then is the team manager able to create psychological safety? Are they able to create an open, trusting environment where employees feel free to speak their minds without the fear of consequences, are able to call out when things don't seem to be right, in all directions, not just to their peers and their team members, but also able to speak up and tell leaders who they report into, maybe not even report into, but leaders in other verticals in the organization, be able to freely call out what is going wrong. Third one is trust. Um, does the team trust a leader to be delivering to their commitments? Do their words and actions match? So when I was talking about, the surveys that organizations do, but they fail to go back to the employee and share what progress they made, probably our managers have to take that responsibility of sharing that information so that the employees start to trust you as a leader and the organizations that they are working for. Um, Not a surprise, feedback also sits in that list. Do managers give their employees timely, relevant, and actionable feedback that helps employees improve their performance? Not in a judgmental way, not in a way to critique, not in a way to find fault, but in a way that shows the employee that you as a manager care for them, are well intended, are wanting to see their growth, are wanting to see them nurture and be better people. Then comes how are they able to manage meeting efficiency, if I'm not wrong, that's the term he'd used. Are you conducting meetings for the sake of deciding the time for the next meeting, or are you conducting meetings to achieve a particular outcome? Are you uh, abandoning a meeting because you don't have all the data and information, or are you closing a meeting sooner than the scheduled time because what you had decided to do in that meeting is already done? So ensuring that you are using people's time. When you efficiently use meetings, it shows that you as a leader are respecting everybody's time. When you call for meetings so that the team can help you do your job, it creates an impression that you as a leader are not valuing your people's time, and that can be a huge reason for quiet quitting. My manager does not value my time, and I am not respected in my organization. Then is autonomy. How much of freedom do you give to an employee to do their job? Or are you micromanaging? Are you checking with them every day, every hour, what they're doing, how they're progressing? There is no simple answer to this. Do some employees need micromanaging? The answer is yes. Do some employees hate micromanaging? Again, the answer is yes. You as a manager needs to um, work it out with your employee. Figure out which employee wants autonomy, which employee wants more support, and flex your ability to give autonomy. Dial it up for one employee and dial it down for another employee based on the employee needs, not based on your need to be in the know of everything that your team does. Then is, caring. Do you care for your team members? How are you able to show that care? Showing that care does not mean checking with the employee every morning, how are you, but really meaning it. If the employee has been unwell, do you say, ensure that you are updating your leaves in the tracker in our portal? Don't forget to do that. Rather, the portal can happen anytime, even after the employee is back. At that point in time, what the employee needs is a few words of kindness, is a few words of empathy, a few words of connection. And I saw in the list that you had shared in the text chat around what should the people managers do, and the leaders do to be the new age leaders, and empathy was a big one there. Leaders have to recognize. Um, when you say recognize, you have to, yes, appreciate and give praise to work that is done well. Also appreciate effort that has gone in, the process that people have put in. Um, don't just recognize and appreciate the outcomes. It becomes very outcomes, because it is demotivating to the employee when they've put in lots of effort and due to some reason the project did not show the results. And when they don't get appreciation for the effort and time and commitment and energy they've put in, but only a poor rating at the end of the year because they were not successful in completing the project on time or in within cost or to the quality expectations, then the employee is demotivated. Then they will withdraw. That quiet quitting will immediately kick in, and where they will feel that What's the point of putting in so much of an effort when my effort is not noticed? Very well, I'll keep doing. Anyways, the results aren't going to change. I'll keep doing what is bare minimum. As a manager, you have to look at the career growth opportunities. When I say career growth opportunities, it becomes important that you as a manager keep your eyes and ears open for opportunities within and outside the organization. Anyways, the employee is going to leave. But when you as a manager provide these opportunities, point them in the right direction, chances are they will want to stay with you, stick with you to see if you can find them a better opportunity. The stickiness actually increases counter to what we might think. If I point the person to a bigger, better opportunity, will I be left one team member short? The answer invariably has shown no. Accountability. Do you as a manager hold people accountable for their performance? Do you hold yourself as accountable for their performance? Both of these are equally important. And when the team member sees that you as a leader is also taking accountability of their performance, chances are they will move from that frame of quiet quitting to performing, where they will really want to live up to your expectations. Simple things like, are you conducting one-on-ones? Are you having two-way communication? Are you always in the tell mode? Are you also in the receive mode? Are you asking your employee, how can we do better? What do you think our team should be aiming in the next quarter, next year? How can we work better together? Rather than having to tell the employee and the team throughout the year, what can you as a leader do to encourage that two-way communication? With that, I have come to the end of our session. I would like to hear from you if there are any questions, one, and if there are any thoughts that you are walking away with, anything that struck you as really, important that you would want to walk back with, I would like to hear that. Don't just appreciate the outcomes, the effort, time, commitment, energy should also be considered. Lovely, Kedar. I'm glad you're walking away with that learning, because if you are a people manager, I think that's the one thing that can be implemented right away that can give you long-term results. Thank you for sharing. I see two questions in the text chat. Let me see if I can answer them. Avdesh asks how to identify that the employee has left the organization because of the manager. At most of the time, employees are afraid of calling this out clearly. I totally agree, Avdesh. There is possibly no short way of identifying. Even in the exit interviews, employees hesitate because chances are if there is an opportunity in the future, they might have to come back to the same organization. And if they're not leaving in good terms, possibly they may not be welcomed back into the organization, even to work with other managers. So it is a very difficult thing to identify and gauge whether it is the people manager. But as HR, now you are privy to lots of data. Do people leave a particular team very frequently? Do people quit a particular manager very frequently? Do people quit at a particular point in the project life cycle very frequently? Lots of this data can actually help you formulate the hypothesis that which manager, which team, which critical phase in the project typically tempts the employees to move out quickly. It has to be data driven. Uh, Chances are very rare unless the employees trust the organization so well that irrespective of what I say in the exit interview, if there's an opportunity in the future, I will be equally welcomed as compared to another candidate. If you're able to create that trusted environment, employees will be able to um, take that risk. But as of now, employees are scared. Deepthi is asking, How to convince your senior management that you have toxic boss when they are a yes sayer, thus making the management happy. Again, a very, very lovely question, Deepthi. You need to grab the seat at the table, see how you can connect with your skip level, your leaders. Chances are, because the toxic manager, the toxic boss is a yes sayer, what you say, what you share may not be evident, but see how often can you bring to them the reality? Can you talk about the real situation? Chances are, when that happens repeatedly over a period of time, the leaders would be forced to see that, the boss says something and the team says something, and invariably what the team says has more meaning and more value, is more thought through. Chances are you will be able to course correct them. Again, there is no show short answer that, by we don't have a magic wand by which this can happen. Only two-way communication, more frequent communication, honest, open communication in a very subtle, respectable way. Trust me, if you're trying to find fault and tell that your boss is not performing to your expectations, that will not fly. Rather than showing the results, saying that, uh, I think doing this would have helped us, or can we also try this in the next time, next phase of the project, because to me it looks this might have better values. So choose the right language, right words to be able to communicate, and that may help you. Open. Do you have process policies that an external organization conducts the interviews? Don't share individual results, but consolidation of results from over a month, saying that these are the key themes because of which employees have left to your organization. That may bring in some trust, saying that, okay, this information is not fed on one. Shanti is leaving the organization and she's quitting because of the manager. Kind of information is not relayed directly. Chances are they may start to trust you more. But it's journey. It'll take time to evolve. Manasa and Bidan have their hands up. Can we give them the ability to unmute and ask their question?
Sure, Shanti, you can go ahead. I think since you've been a host, you can unmute
I
and
can allow to talk. Manasa, I've just allowed you to voice your question. Do you want to do that? I don't see. Okay, any further questions, any thoughts, comments? Thanks, Deepthi. Glad you found it meaningful. I'm going to stay on until a few more minutes. If you've got any questions, do let me know. Naveen, I hand it over back to you to wrap up the session in case there are no questions or comments.